There we go. Lovely. So welcome everybody to how to realistically and consistently stay confident as a business leader or a team leader. And a member. And when I say a team member, I also think about, you can sometimes be an influential team member as well, who is realistically and consistently can stay confident. And it's one of those things that you think, how does that actually work? And so what I'm going to cover with you today is how you can have confidence in the room, this room today, the Zoom room, confidence in business, your confidence in a deeper detail, 3 ways, testing your confidence and how to improve it. And it will be a quick whiz through to really help you do that effectively. And I will take comments and conversation throughout the session anyway. All right, so feel free to just unmute and just talk to me or put it in the chat. I'll look out for it there as well. And so in terms of this particular picture, I want you to think about actually you are in the room because you have confidently shown up to be in a room for a LinkedIn masterclass with people that you probably don't even know. And that's an element of confidence, actually, and that's okay. And I want you to be able to just think about actually confidence shows up in different ways, at different times, in different shapes, in different colors, throughout our year, throughout our day, throughout our lifetime. But to be realistically and consistently linked to it and doing it, that's where the challenge is sometimes. But it's not difficult to step it up and make a difference. Okay. And so I wanted to share with you, most of you have connected with me because you are followers or we've worked together, and I'm really pleased that you are actually with me. But I wanted to share these 3 pictures because I could say to you, of course, Denise is accredited, qualified, certified, etc. Of course, I could say that, and I can say that. But what really delights me is the fact that I have worked with a number of directors, and those directors have actually been looking at their strategy, looking at their vision, and I've confidently helped them to do that. I've also worked with a number of engineers, of which you are engineers on here tonight as well, and helping them to innovate and really create inventions as well. And also worked with some senior leaders in terms of, guess what? That vision that they have for that directorate, that function, that way of working can work. So I could tell you about all my qualifications, but that's not what it's about. It's all about actually, I have created transformation, and I did it when I was 7 years old. So that little scrunched up picture of Denise there is when I was 7. I had confidence then. I had confidence at 14 to be standing as girl guide leader there with my mum in that picture, but being able to run a number of groups whilst I was in high school, as well as being the coach that I am today. Confidence changes throughout your period of time. So I want you to think about when you were maybe 7, when you were maybe 14 years old in the middle of high school or middle school or secondary school. And then think about the confidence you have now and that journey that you have taken to move from A to B to C in your confidence level. Interesting. At this stage, let me just shout out to anybody who just wants to come off the call very quickly, just to say, what about your journey from when you were 7 through to what age that you are now? I will not ask you your age now, but do you think that the confidence does change from that perspective? Sandra?
I'll share. And hi, Jane. I know Jane Simpson. She used to work, or I used to work to her. I suppose for me, my confidence has recently taken a knock with the fact that I might be made redundant for the first time. So when I was 7, didn't really think about it. I just did whatever I wanted, the same as at 14. I used to sail my own dinghy and go out and do things like that. And throughout my career, I've been confident, but this is, something being forced on me as opposed to me choosing something has knocked my confidence now.
Yes, absolutely. And so what I will do is able to touch on that for you, Sandra, and you will leave with something from this that will help you navigate next steps, I think, John.
Yeah, definitely. In the course of your life, your confidence changes. So when I was around 14, 15, I lost my dad. Through that, I felt quite isolated with my peer group at the time, and actually ended up, as I went into sixth form, to get a whole new set of friends. As you go through your career, you have different aspects of confidence. Sort of redundancy in 2010 sort of is quite a blow, and as you know, I went through quite a dark period of depression. But it's just chance conversations with people can really help to boost that confidence. And you've helped me in that journey for sure. And just talking about your experience, you can sort of really grow and flourish, and sort of draw on the dark times to help you build a better future, really.
Definitely. And it is a future of changing confidence levels as well. And I have enjoyed our many conversations over the years, for sure, John, and many more to come. We need a coffee, don't we?
We do. Thank you.
And so, you're probably wanting to know, why is this picture on here? And it's really about business confidence. So think about your own corporate world. The pictures on here depict IBM, top right-hand corner, sorry, left-hand corner. They could have always remained with mainframes, but actually the size of the mainframes and the little computer at the end of that corridor highlights that actually a lot of what was on a mainframe many years ago in the 70s, 80s, 90s now sit on a tiny, tiny chip nowadays. You have to have that business confidence of strategy and vision. I'd like you to think about that for your own personal life, as well as your career as well. Because you can't, where you are today will change tomorrow, for sure. And then I want you to think about Ronald McDonald, those of you who were around in that's probably 70s and 80s. He's not around anymore, but he was a mascot of the day. Every child were probably either very afraid of Ronald McDonald, but actually that caught a child's attention and caused McDonald's to grow in the franchise that it is now. Sometimes the confidence you had yesterday to walk into a boardroom and deliver may be very different to walk into a different boardroom tomorrow. And then we've got the Sony MP3. How dare Sony even mention that right now? Because guess what? It didn't last very long, and it only held X number of music files. But when you compare that to Spotify now, very different development, very different innovation, very different invention. But it doesn't mean that it didn't matter when it first came out in the 90s to have an MP3. And then the picture at the top right hand there is actually, I really enjoyed looking at this one because it's actually the South Wales Police Museum picture. And it shows the innovation, and those of you who are engineers on the call, the innovation of hard hats to look after our policemen at the time in Wales. And it highlights actually criminal activity changes. And therefore they had to look different and dress differently. Think again about your business and your personal life. The confidence level that you have, the hard hat of confidence that you had last year versus the hard hat of confidence, Sandra, I guess, for yourself, where you're going to have to get into a redundancy world, start looking and dealing with recruitment agencies, which you may not have had to deal with for a while. And then that hard hat of confidence to then get into that stage of journeying into interviews and conversations with people and reaching out and reconnecting with your network or your next position going forward, for instance. Again, I want you to think about business confidence with Windows 3.1. Some of you may remember some of these pictures. But at the time when they were built and created, the time when you built and created the confidence you had to walk into that promotion 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, it's very different from the one that you have now. So what builds up that confidence? What is it? So I want you to think now, your turn. Think about a task or an activity of some shape or form, a project that you're on or a current program, a report that you're working on. Maybe there's a promotion that you need to go for. Is there a speaking engagement? Or a corporate leader that you need to go and speak to, who is probably not your boss, but your boss's boss? Or is there a group of people that you need to talk to? What is your confidence level right now, today, in order to continue carrying out that task? Just feel free, a couple of you now, to just unmute and just share with me any thoughts on that, or any that you're thinking, oh, my confidence level is not so good for this one, but let's see by the end of this conversation, this masterclass, how that might change. Anybody wants to just unmute and just talk? Or dare not. Okay, Leonie.
Hey,
Hi,
Denise.
Leonie. Good to see you.
Hi, you too. Can you hear me okay?
I can indeed. Yes, go for it.
Fab. So I've recently started a new contracting position, which I'm really enjoying, and people, and you know me, I like to get stuck in. The first couple of weeks was really good because I had set tasks and I kind of knew what I needed to do in regards to what they wanted in the program. Nice and easy, job well done, first few weeks. Now it's moving more onto more difficult subjects in regards to the speaking to senior management. So the way that they want to progress with the program is very waterfall approach, which is not really working in the way that they've not really structured it, the rest of the program to be so. So it's quite difficult to, I suppose, give them what they need when the structure that they've been doing for the last 3 years is just not working. And coming in completely new when there's so much documentation, and being able to actually be on a level and say, what you're doing is not working, and you've brought me in to help fix this, but you're not listening. And so for me, it's just having that kind of what next. I've tried to, you know, give them reasons and data and all of the what they need to actually see, but it again, I think it's more of it's a cultural, almost sometimes a language barrier as well, because this is an international program. So just for me, it's probably, when I first went in, confidence 10 out of 10, because I knew exactly what was needed. But now confidence is waning a bit, not on my ability, but on my troubles with trying to get them to understand, you know, my perspective and what they've brought me in to do, to be fair.
Sure. And so what you've described there, Leonie, thank you for sharing, are two types of confidence, actually. And I'm going to touch on 3 levels, well, not 3 levels, 3 ways that your confidence shows up. And you've already described 2 of them, actually. So I will be referring back to what you've just described in this current situation that you're in, and highlight where you can enhance it to get through possibly the one where it says speaking. Who do you speak to, how you speak to them, and the confidence level that you need to then engage and help them to make a decision, turn it around, to take the next steps forward, instead of necessarily going waterfall as a way forward. So I will be coming back to refer to that for you, if that's okay. I know a lot of us think about emotional intelligence all the time and use it and practice it pretty much every day. But this slide is really just to remind you that actually self-awareness can be broken down into 3 areas. How you use your business tools and systems, and especially for people where it's a heavily processed corporate world. Or it's about the self-awareness of yourself. Or is most of your attention with self-awareness when you are around others? And I'd say a perfect corporate person is one who thinks about all 3 all the time, day and night. And that perfect person does not exist, okay? So don't feel that you have to. But just consider this. Where do you spend most of your self-awareness in any of these 3? Business tools and systems? Carrying out a process? Is it mainly when it's just you by yourself and you spend time meditating, thinking, reflecting on an activity or a task? Or is it when you're actually with others and you're spotting what others are doing and how you're acting and engaging and transacting with them? But is it possible to realistically and consistently stay self-confident? And it is. And you can in 3 ways. And I've broken it down into these 3 things: your judgments, your skills, and your abilities. So just as Leonie highlighted a situation where she's now going to have to speak to them about documentation, waterfall processes, next step in the activities, I want you all as well to think of just one thing that you feel right now, your self-confidence. I'm not going to tell you to speak up about it. I just want you to think about it. Where am I feeling that inner nitty-gritty feeling that things aren't quite right and I'm not feeling truly confident about this? And I'm going to help you to realize, is it in my judgments? Is it in my skills? Is it in my abilities? Those 3 aspects of self-confidence. Now, when we talk about abilities, what I'm talking about here is that assurance, your self-assurance that you are accepting the challenge in front of you, you are poised about delivering in that situation, that talk, that project, that report, and you are self-accepting of the fact that I can do this. Irrelevant of skill, despite judgment, you're able to do it. And that could be because of your age, it could be because of how you've grown up, it could be because of actually your experience. If you've done 30 years in the same sector, for instance, or carrying out the same type of role, there's a natural ability to a certain degree. And often I think about ability is there and it's strong because you've practiced. If it's not so strong for yourself, that is the tip, the simple tip that I give you. And those of you who've worked with me before, I just stay simple because life is simple and it can be. Just keep practicing, accepting the challenge, staying poised, and self-accepting the next steps in the activity. And so, for instance, if it's a report that you're feeling, I'm not so confident in writing that report and delivering it to boss A or boss B or leader A or leader B, I want you to just practice writing that report. It's as simple as that. Because until you start to write it, the next thing that I'm going to cover right now won't necessarily show up. And that's about your skills. Your skills are definitely related to your self-competence. And what I mean by that is it's the fact that it's linked to how you use your education, your experience, your competence in really stepping out. And I think, Leonie, you mentioned it here. It was your skill in your first X weeks of starting in that position. You were competent at what you were doing, skilled at what you were doing. You achieved the goals. You took the calculated risks. You delivered. But now it's time for you to take this next tip. Set some noble goals. And what we mean by that are the goals that really stretch you. And so those of you, the rest of you on this call who are thinking about actually, is the thing that I need to do with my ability, or am I feeling lacking in self-confidence because it's because of my skill? I'm not feeling competent. Has somebody else got more letters after their name because of who they are? Is it that they have gone to a different type of university? All these things come into our minds and cause our self-confidence to just plummet or feel a little bit shaky. But I challenge you, if you are in the position that you're in now, you are therefore able, you're competent at what you're doing, and you will just have to now set some new goals to achieve them and take some calculated risks. Because you will never grow your self-confidence unless you take those risks. And what are those risks? Is it that you did it? Because often that's what it is. It's as simple as that, is that you stepped out, and you decided to do that task, run that program, go into that position, apply for that job, speak to that leader. Because if you don't do it, you won't know what the result's going to be. The other third way is about judgments. And I often find when I'm coaching my clients that actually, this is probably one of the biggest ones, is how they think about themselves. How much self-liking is there? Because you can be super able at doing things. You can be super able at being skilled and competent and have all the qualifications. But if that love for yourself and what you do is not there, then that needs to be worked on. So I'd encourage you to start to practice that high self-esteem, to respect yourself that, guess what, if I did it in that company and I got the result, then I can do it in that company and I can get the same results and more. To get back to journaling, get back to reminding yourself and reflecting on how you overcame, how you made those sales, how you actually achieved working with that executive member of the board. Because when you celebrate those personal achievements and remember your worth, that's really helping you to stop. Because you can have good judgments, you can also have bad judgments. And often, as human beings, we often look at the bad judgments around ourselves. I'm asking you, please don't do that. Let's stop doing that as a human race. And if it helps to get accountability, get a mentor, get a coach, get someone to lean on, get someone to talk to. And often, John and I often have that conversation about all sorts and lean on each other to stop us from really, pulling ourselves down and just staying at that level of confidence in those three ways. So can you do that one thing I asked you to do, that task, that problem, that program, that speaking engagement? Because if you look at your skills and your abilities and your judgments in that way and break down your self-confidence from that perspective, it's possible. It's possible to actually look at which aspect of my confidence is flaky right now and causing me to be concerned. And in this case, I guess for yourself, Leonie, I said I'd come back to you on this, is great at the beginning of the journey, needing that skill now, competence to speak up to that leader and say, actually, these are some of the things that need to be addressed, okay? And I will leave some time at the end of this call, actually, if anybody does want to just dig a little bit deeper into that. But I don't want you to assume your emotional intelligence traits. Now, I'm being super confident here by sharing with you my emotional intelligence report. You can see the second one down there was where I had scored effectively at the time, but what were my other raters scoring me at? And actually they were a little bit less in terms of the effective range. So I'm bearing my soul here that actually I felt probably pretty confident, but the people around me, when I saw the results, I actually asked them to help me become more confident by sharing some more information about why they thought that I was a little less than what I thought. I was probably being a little bit proud. But these are some of the things that I actually do with leaders and teams. So I currently run those programs and workshops. You can have those scientifically based scores, quantitative, and then I can look at that and help you work out, so what does that mean qualitatively? How can we look at getting somebody, a team, super confident? How can we look at how we can get leaders to look at their vision and be confident that they can strategically achieve that vision for that directorate or that function or that team? And these on the screen are some of the things that I can help you to do. So by all means, if you do want to reach out to me to make that happen, please do. I'm here to help and support. Because the way our world is going right now, it's not going to be technical skills. It's going to get us forward and making more money and being productive and performing well. It's down to these power skills, I call them now, not just soft skills. They are power skills. So thank you for joining me. The next masterclass is, can you really rely on you? the art of self-reliance for business leaders and teams. I'm so glad you've joined me, and I'm going to take any other questions before we close the call.
Thank you so much, Denise.
Thank you, John.
That was really great, really thought-provoking.
Yes, it's not just confidence as a word. Break it down into those three things: skills and judgments. Definitely, definitely. Any other questions from anyone at all? No? Great. Okay, well, I look forward to seeing you next week at the next masterclass. Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay. Thanks so much, Denise.
Thank you.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thanks, Denise.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, Jane. Bye-bye, Leonie.